The rise of social media has drastically influenced our behavior, or at least it has enlightened some deviant aspects of it. For instance, our social curiosity, or self-monitoring, which means the tendency to regulate and be self-conscious about our presentation. For instance, when we post a picture and just delete it afterwards. This is derived from the apprehension of social judgment towards us. When we talk about social media, we highlight the negative effects it can have on our mental health, whether it is social comparison or narcissism, to give some examples. There are overall few videos out there on YouTube dealing with those topics, but I rarely saw the subject of voyeurism or normal voyeurism, although it is a huge part of social media. The reason social media is able to sustain itself is because of engagement, and this engagement is for the most part materialized by views. When you think about it, views are an important part of the market of social media, and celebrities or influencers are able to make profit off of it. I will break down in this video why I think the subject of voyeurism is pertinent in the social media sphere and why we can say that we are becoming voyeurs on social media. Now more than ever, we just want to know what people are up to, what they're doing with their lives, and it seems like it's even entertaining, to get access to all this information. Cyberstalking and meme culture are good examples of that phenomenon. How can we explain our social curiosity and the spectatorship that comes with it? Actually, as social creatures, it is pretty normal to adopt such a behavior. It is our need for affiliation, and we need to fulfill that need by entertaining relationships with others. We also tend to adjust to the norm while in a group. Asch explained it very well in his experiments.
But on the third trial, something happens.
Two.
The subject denies the evidence of his own eyes and yields to group influence. Asch found subjects went along with the group on 37% of the critical trials. Sometimes we go along with the group because what they say convinces us they are right. This is called informational conformity. But sometimes we conform because we are apprehensive that the group will disapprove if we are deviant. This is called normative conformity.
So such behaviors are pretty normal, right? For us humans. The issue is actually when it becomes an addiction. When we become addicted to other people's content and lives. Symptom of that addiction is the overconsumption of social media platforms. The conceptors of those apps get it. They know that we consumers want to know more and more. As a result, they add more functionalities, stories, localization, it goes on and on. The aim of those apps is literally that we spend the most amount of time on those platforms. And these past years, statistics have shown an increase in the hours spent on social media. We are now able to get instant access to one's private details, and it makes surveillance pretty much easy. Mediated voyeurism was created by Calvert to define voyeurism in the sphere of reality TV shows. As a matter of fact, a few studies showed the link between voyeurism and reality TV. For a better understanding of the notion of mediated voyeurism, you have to make the distinction between actual voyeurism and normal voyeurism, which is the definition that I just put right here. And this term comes from the postulat that voyeuristic tendencies may be an extensive phenomena adjusted by social forces. If we assume that people want to voyeurize, a social atmosphere that promotes such behavior should exceed the raised voyeuristic activity. So it would mean that those voyeuristic tendencies are in all of us in some way. Normal voyeurism was as well a key gratification for viewers. Watching people create bonds and relationships and being able to judge them from behind the screen was also a guilty pleasure. But the best part will always be the fights. Wouldn't be any voyeurism without exhibitionism. So not only we observe people's lives, routine and achievements, but we also create, display ourselves. We are all content creators and all mini stars. We are given the space to create a persona and reproduce the dynamic between celebrities and their fans. So we expose ourselves and we accept in return positive feedbacks and validation from our peers. So, what motivates us to voyeurize? I will focus on two psychological processes, and the first one is social comparison. Social comparison refers to the tendency of using others as sources of information to determine how we are doing relative to others, or how we should behave, think, or feel. This social comparison is related to our sense of belongingness as we need others to evaluate ourselves. So, social comparison can definitely be a motivation to observe people's lives to make that evaluation. When the comparison is so-called upward, which means that the source of comparison is perceived as above us, we may experience jealousy or envy towards what we don't have. Since everyone's reality is beautified, we may have the same feeling that those people do better than us, and it can lead to envy or competition. Specifically, online social comparison is the tendency of users to experience negative feelings while engaging in an increased comparison of themselves vis-a-vis others during social media use. And it can be a threat to our identity since we are motivated to see ourselves positively according to the theory of identity. The other psychological process that I think is implied is FOMO, or fear of missing out. This typically refers to users' preoccupation with social media about lost opportunities when they are offline, unable or unwilling to connect and communicate with others to the extent they wish. It is a pervasive apprehension that others might be having a rewarding experience from which one is absent. Researchers have suggested that there was a positive correlation between FOMO and the overconsumption of social media content. An interesting study shows that stalking, negative social comparison, and fear of missing out are negative fallouts of social media use or the overconsumption of social media, and it can provoke in the long run what they call social media fatigue, which is the exhaustion basically of all of this information that we consume and the interactions on social media. So the notion of mediated voyeurism is very recent. It appeared just a couple of decades ago with studies on reality TV. However, I think that this topic is still relevant in the era of social media and super pertinent since these last years, platforms like TikTok, Instagram, or even OnlyFans lately, which are platforms where the image is everything, have become the most popular, the most used platforms. So what do you guys think about this topic? Do you think that we are indeed becoming voyeurs? Comment what you think below, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and I see you in the next video.